Hello, friends, and good morning. Today we're going to discuss the subject of eggs. You know, as I travel around and I help different people in changing their lifestyles in order to get good health, and as I do presentations before different people, the subject of eggs always comes up. You know, what about eggs? And for some people, eggs is the hardest thing to give up. You know, I remember, because I used to eat eggs, but a very, very long time ago. I've been plant-based for years. But I remember, can you imagine how powerful advertisement is? I remember the song, I love eggs, from my head down to my legs. I remember listening to that. And, you know, it was a nice little jingle that they made. And it's interesting that the industry, the egg industry, has really been promoting eggs as the gold standard of protein. You know, apparently we can't live without it. And so we're going to enter into some of that controversy and decide what we want to do really with eggs, how eggs has been used, and if we still need it now. But before we do so, as always, I will stop to ask the Lord for help because I always need Him. Thank you, Lord, for your goodness, and I pray that as I present your truth on eggs, on whether we need it now in 2024, about, you know, the use of it, and all of these different things that we might have understanding. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so the truth about eggs. Is it as good as we have been told? So I'm going to start out with two quotations from this writer of the 1800s and 1900s. And she writes, when a letter came to me from Kornberg saying that Dr. So-and-so was dying, I was that night instructed that he must have a change of diet. A raw egg taken 2 or 3 times a day would give the nourishment that is greatly needed. So even back then, people often used a raw egg, sometimes mingled with grape juice, sometimes just that way, in order to build good blood and get people back to strength. We're going to see why in a certain moment. But remember, that was 1904, and I'm going to show you that the egg in 1904 compared to the egg in 2024, it's not the same egg. So the author continues, she says, yet we should not consider it a violation of principle to use eggs from hens that are well cared for and suitably fed. Eggs contain properties that are remedial agencies in counteracting certain poisons. Now, this is an interesting fact. And the first time I heard about this in terms of an egg was not from that author. It was not from anything to do with somebody prescribing eggs or not prescribing eggs. In that case, in that time, she was prescribing that flesh meats, though we should be trying to get rid of them, eggs were still something that we could use because of the fact that it had all of these remedial agencies within it. Now, the first time I saw that was in a series called MacGyver. Those of you that are a little bit older would know that was a very popular series on TV. And in MacGyver, somebody had mercury poisoning. And MacGyver said, do you have an egg, you know? And he mixed up a raw egg and gave the person it. Now, if you go to Google that now, there's so much false information and it's so hard to get to the truth. And so what we know is that, as you're seeing on the slide here, egg yolk is a powerhouse, first of all, the egg yolk. The egg yolk has more nutrition than the white of the egg or the albumin. So the egg yolk is a powerhouse. It contains 16% of protein, 32% of lipids, so it's very fatty. It has B12, B2, vitamin A, vitamin D, folate. It's like a small powerhouse. And it's a powerhouse because it's designed to produce a life, you know? So think about something designed to turn into a life. That's what an egg is. An egg is pretty much an unhatched chicken. Think about it that way. And so the egg yolk is a powerhouse. So you can understand why in the 1800s and the 1900s and even before then, because the use of eggs goes back way back. Even in scriptures, the Bible says, which of you, if your child shall ask of you, an egg, shall give him, a scorpion or something like that. And so the idea of eggs and it being this is very interesting. But in terms of its remedial agency, we're told that even though the egg white is not as power-packed as the yolk, it still has about 4 milligrams of protein. It, however, can coagulate certain poisons, and it wraps them, as it were, in this kind of insoluble covering. So it envelopes poisons so that it can take it out of the body. Poisons like sulfur and mercury and lead. This is because albumin carries these positive charges that attract negatively charged tannins and negatively charged poisons, in so much that it's actually used, it's one of the oldest things used in terms of the wine industry, in using it as a fining agent, because it has the ability to hold onto tannins and envelope them and take them away. And of course, you can find more information on this in Encyclopedia of Food Chemistry and the International Journal of Applied Pharmaceutics. So again, you really have to look in order to find this. But the first time I knew about the remedial agency of egg is in the show MacGyver. So we can see that egg has a very, or I should say, it had a very positive connotation in its ability to build up people that were sick, in its ability to remove heavy metals from the body. However, in 2024, does the body good? No. Does an egg do the body good now? And so, is that really true in 2024? So we have the same author that was prescribing eggs and saying that we should still use them for remedial agencies for building up. In fact, that author, even when she was dying, when Ellen White was dying, she had a little bit of the white of an egg, almost every day, because of the fact that it was so good. But the same author writes, as disease in animals increases, the use of milk and eggs will become more and more unsafe, and efforts should be made to supply their place with other things that are healthful and inexpensive. So she said that in the future, remember she had written that in 1904, she said in the future, animals would become more diseased, and even milk and egg would be something that would be not good for us. So 1904 to 2024, that's a long time. I think we're in the future now. Now, here they have a guy, and he's frying an egg with an apron. And, this is just one of those articles that I just pulled off the internet. But listen to what it says. Though there is no longer a recommended daily amount of cholesterol, now experts urge people to focus on lowering dietary saturated and trans fats. Many are still wary of how cholesterol-rich foods like eggs might negatively impact their levels. Here's what you need to know about eggs and cholesterol, and how to safely eat these nutritional powerhouses while keeping heart health in mind. Now, I love I started out with the advertisement that was stuck in my head. Advertising is a powerful tool that can be used to point us or direct our minds in different directions. So I'm gonna indeed tell you the truth about cholesterol and how we can move on without using those nutritional packed powerhouses, because there's nutrition in so many other places. So first of all, we want to underscore that egg consumption is the #1 source of elevated cholesterol in the world. Egg is the #1 source of elevated cholesterol in the world because it's consumed by so many in so many countries. I mean, a lot of people have in common nothing else but the fact that they love eggs. And so, and the part of the egg that is really fatty is the yolk, as we said before. And so some people are saying, don't use the yolk, just use the white of the egg. Well, then you've lost whatever nutrition the egg does have. So that won't work. I say we have to throw out all of it one time. So the type of cholesterol we're talking about is the type that is associated with all of the heart and arterial diseases that you would have heard from. Harvard researchers, in fact, found that eating 1 egg per week, now this is 1 egg per week, increases the risk of you getting diabetes by 76%. I mean, do we really want to increase the risk of getting diabetes by any percent, much less 76%? So this is a PubMed article, and they've showed us in this peer-reviewed article that a widespread misconception has been developing among the Canadian public, and I would say among the public in general. It is increasingly believed that consumption of dietary cholesterol and egg yolk is harmless. There are good reasons for long-standing recommendations that dietary cholesterol should be limited. Now, friends, there's about 186 milligrams of cholesterol in an egg. Some eggs have much more, it depends on the size of the egg, but typically 186 milligrams of cholesterol. Your liver makes about 1,000 milligrams of cholesterol every day. And 1,000 milligrams of cholesterol is all the cholesterol you need daily for the rest of your life. You'll be happy, your liver will be happy, your arteries will be happy. You do not need to consume cholesterol from any other source. Because remember, cholesterol is a very important item in the body. It functions in many ways in terms of keeping the body healthy. So you need cholesterol, but you don't need it from any other source except yourself, because you are able to manufacture enough cholesterol and sufficient right amounts of cholesterol to keep you happy and healthy. But if you're consuming eggs, then you're consuming 186 milligrams. Now, can you imagine if you're consuming 2 eggs or 3 eggs a day? Because we can have a nice scrambled eggs, but then we can also have like a pastry that had egg, or something that was brushed with egg. And then by the time evening, we can go back and have an egg McMuffin. So can you imagine the amount of cholesterol that people are continuously consuming, in so much that their bodies can't handle that, because your body was only designed for 1,000 milligrams daily, and your liver makes that completely all by itself. It doesn't need the help of anything else. Now, there's more to that. So not only is egg a part of the arterial disease complex that we have in the world today, but eggs have a problem with salmonella. Salmonella. Now, 2/3 of the resistant bacteria in the world comes because of animal husbandry. It's because of them farming animals in a way that is really wrong. I can't use another word. And so eggs compete with chicken to be the #1 source of salmonella poisoning in the world. And I'm sure if you've been living in the Western world, you would have had an egg recall sometime in your era. Now, salmonella can get on the shells of the egg. Now, this was funny. It had some sense of amusement. So this is salmonella in eggs, and this is from the CDC. It says, salmonella can get on the shells of eggs, and this is again advertising. This can happen when birds lay the eggs and when eggs touch bird droppings after being laid. Touching eggs from the grocery store, though, is not a major cause of illness because those eggs are washed before they reach the stores. But then they have this little comment line that they don't explain. Salmonella can get inside eggs too. Now here's a question. How does the salmonella get inside of the eggs? Well, many eggs have mini cracks that is not possible for you to see even with the naked eye. And as the egg is coming out of the hen, the ovarian tissue of the chicken, the ovarian tissue is infected by salmonella. That's right, the chicken itself is sick. And so as the chicken lays its eggs, that salmonella gets into those mini cracks that you can't see. And so you have a salmonella egg. Now, it's very interesting, and this is why they tell you eggs should never be eaten raw. Now, that's like a big thing with the CDC. Eggs should never be eaten raw. But remember, in 1904, the counsel was, yeah, take a raw egg. It's perfectly fine. In fact, it's helpful for you. Like I told you, It's not the same egg. So if you look at the slide, the chicken of yesterday versus the chicken of today, I mean, it's just not the same bird. It's not the same bird. This is from HuffPost. It says, the undomesticated ancestor of the modern chicken laid eggs for the same purpose as any other bird, reproduction, and in similar numbers are typically around a dozen a year. I want you to keep that in mind. So a chicken of yesterday, like the chicken in 94, would lay about a dozen eggs, that's 12, per year. These eggs were frugally laid after the hen found a mate. The eggs then hatched into chicks who the hen diligently raised. So these were fertilized eggs because the hen would mate with the cock and they would produce fertilized eggs. Now, when we have layers, and so they have hybridized these birds to become layer poultry birds, then what they've done, because a chicken, even though it's not, being mated with, it will produce an egg. And very similarly, as a woman will release an egg during her ovulation. Well, the chicken will lay an egg, even if it's an unfertilized egg. So these are not fertilized eggs, first of all, because the chicken doesn't have a mate. It's just been hybridized to just lay eggs. How many eggs? The chicken at age of 18 weeks will continually lay an egg every single day and will produce some 250 to 300 eggs in a year. This is crazy. This is crazy. Now, all of these chickens are usually vaccinated. Do you know why they vaccinate these chickens and they give them particular feed? Because the chickens have to generate so much that they were not meant to generate in so much time. In fact, that's why most layer chickens that are layers, end up being slaughtered at 1 year old. They don't really live for very long. But the 1904 chickens, the chickens of yesteryear, they lived for 10 years. So like I said, it's not the same bird and it's not the same egg. So this has complicated matters because now we have eggs and the cancer connection. In the HuffPost, for years, researchers have shown an association between the consumption of chickens' eggs and an increased risk of prostate and colorectal cancer in humans. Yes, eggs are linked to cancer. Not because only of the large amount of cholesterol levels in it, but for many other reasons. One of them, this was in the UK, warning over buying cancer-causing free-range imported eggs. And we're going to talk about free-range in a moment. You see, what's happening is how we're producing the hens, how we're doing the things, is that the eggs themselves have become kind of a poison, not only with salmonella, but even with cancer-causing elements, because the eggs now are a source of the very poisons, heavy metal poisons, that they were used to treat back in the day. I mean, it's not the same eggs, friends. So let's talk, and by the way, many eggs are sick, and people ask me, what about, let's go to the next slide. What about free-range eggs, hormone-free and cage-free? I buy organic eggs, I pay, my eggs cost like $6, $7 in the supermarket. Friends, as the curse of sin rests more heavily upon the earth, first of all, because sin has just increased, the animal world is burdened by what humanity does. And so the animals are sick. Even if you have free-range animals and you're feeding them your own food, don't get me wrong, and they're mating and having fun, you're going to have indeed better eggs. So if you're doing that, great. But let me tell you that even those who are doing that, the chickens are getting sick. And the eggs, therefore, are also sick. So even if you're doing that and you have your own chickens, which are better eggs, you still have problems. But if you're buying organic, free-range, hormone-free, cage-free eggs, just know that free-range basically means that each hen has an outdoor space of about 2 square feet. Do you know how small that is? These things are comedies. You have to understand, if someone is going to be raising chickens in order to make money, then they have to do certain things. First of all, the chickens have to lay more eggs than they should. They buy layer chickens, is the first thing. So the chickens are generating much more eggs than a normal chicken would. They'll allow it to have a little bit of space, but then they have to do other things like keep on the light all night long. There's several things that they have to do in order to keep up an economical interest in this idea. So even for those of you that love your free-range, organic, hormone-free, cage-free eggs, you still have problems. You still have troubles. Like I said, it's just not the same egg. What about the choline connection, which is even a little bit strange? So CBS News and several other news agencies came out with this headline: a nutrient in meat and eggs may play a role in blood clotting and heart attack risk. It goes on to say a nutrient in meat and eggs may conspire with gut bacteria to make the blood more prone to clotting, a small study suggests. Do you have a conspiracy in your gut microbiome? Now, what happens is that eggs are very rich in choline. And by the way, if you're plant-based like me, you have no problem getting choline. You have no problem getting any nutrient as long as you're eating a whole food plant-based diet. But eggs are very rich in choline. And choline is converted into a toxin called trimethylamine by a bacteria, wait, hold for it, in a meat eater's gut. If you're not consuming, you see the gut, the microbiome, the gut bacteria of a plant-based person and the gut bacteria of someone that eats meat or a lacto-ovo vegetarian is different. It's different. And I love that how God made us. He just made everything right and everything's connected. And so for those that are consuming eggs, then their choline is converted into this TMAO, that's short for it. And TMAO is oxidized in the liver. And when it's oxidized in the liver, it becomes a toxin and it's toxic. In fact, they found that high levels of this particular toxin is associated with many diseases, including cancer, as they said, heart disease, stroke, and many other things. So you really don't want to have high levels of this. And it's interesting, the gut bacteria of the vegans and the plant-based people doesn't convert the choline into this. And not only that, but it carries it off. It carries off choline so that you actually only get just the amount that your body needs. It's like how the liver manufactures just the amount of cholesterol your body needs. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, it's wonderful. Now, we couldn't stop talking about eggs without talking about the protein myth. And I mean, friends, I get honestly tired of people saying, so how do you get your protein? And I tell them, the same way the horses do. You know, what about, how do you think the cow gets his protein? I mean, not only do we drink the milk from the cow, but we eat the cow's meat and we say steak is a very good source of protein. Where does the cow get his protein to create the steak that when we kill the cow? But friends, he gets it from the grass. So he gets it from the grass. I said that correctly. Protein is almost in everything that is food that is plant-based. Beans, rice, vegetables, everything, almost everything. There's no way that a plant-based person can be protein deficient. In fact, all this protein craze is just that. It's a craze. So let's cover the protein myth. So we're going to look at WebMD. It says, they're tasty, filling. This is the boiled egg benefits. They're tasty, they're filling, and good for your health at any age. Are they really? Along with milk, eggs contain the highest biological value, or the gold standard for protein. And I mean the advertisements. That's why I started with advertisements, because the advertisements just, for me, they're amusing. So what is the idea of highest biological value or the gold standard? Well, it talks about 9 essential amino acids. And they talk about the essential amino acids, and many foods do not contain all 9 essential amino acids. But an egg does. And so it says is the gold standard because it has not only a good amount of protein in that it has 6 grams, but it also has these 9 essential amino acids. Well, so let's debunk the myth. I kind of like that. So buckwheat flour has 6 grams of protein, just like an egg, in just 1 cup. And guess what? Buckwheat flour also is part of this gold standard because it has all 9 essential amino acids. Chia seed, 6 grams in just 2 tablespoons. That's pretty amazing. So the same amount of an egg and just 2 tablespoons of chia seed. And guess what? Chia seed also has the gold standard because it has all 9 essential amino acids. Quinoa has 8 grams of protein. That's more than an egg. In just 1 cup of the grain. And guess what? It's a part of the gold standard too. Because what did I say? It has all 9 essential amino acids. And then there are other foods that have more protein than an egg, like black beans, 7 grams in a cup. Peanut butter, 7 grams in 1 spoon. But they don't necessarily meet the gold standard like buckwheat flour, chia seed, quinoa, in that it has all 9 essential amino acids. Now we're going to talk about that in a moment. Then we have soy, anything. So tofu, soy milk, tempeh, it doesn't matter. 15 grams per half a cup. That's a lot of protein. But not only that, it covers the gold standard. Praise the Lord that it covers the gold standard. And then we have almond butter, 7 grams in 2 tablespoons. 7 grams in 2 tablespoons. So not only 7 grams in just 2 tablespoons of almond butter, but we also have the humble potato. That's correct. 3 to 4 grams of protein in a medium-sized potato. And by the way, a large potato can have equal or more than an egg. And guess what? Potato comes into line with the gold standard because it has all 9 essential amino acids. But just in case you're not getting these gold standard protein sources, what happens every single day is that our body dumps 90 grams of protein in our digestive tract in order to be broken apart and put back together. So we have like a pool of amino acids every single day in the digestive tract. And why does the body do this? Because the body says, oh, somebody ate some spinach. It has protein. Doesn't have all the essential amino acids. Not one of these gold standard foods, but it's not a problem. We have the other amino acids necessary to create the protein we're looking for. And that's what the body does every day. So because you have a circulating pool every day of amino acids, your body is able to create the exact kind and amount of protein that you need as long as you're eating a whole food, plant-based diet. So do we need to worry about protein? Not at all. And just in case you're a little extreme and you're really worried about protein because you really bought into this kind of lie, remember the gold standard exists as well in buckwheat flour, chia seed, quinoa, soy, anything, and the humble potato. It's fascinating. It's fascinating for sure. Now we come down to the final slide, and it's interesting, egg protein digestion. Because not only are we not dealing with the same egg, but egg can actually cause us digestive issues, which is fascinating. Now, first of all, the albumin of an egg requires, so that's the white of an egg, requires a digestion pH of 1.5. Now, that's very acidic. Now, hydrochloric acid is acidic, yes, but is not that acidic. So the enzymes that are thrown into pepsinogen, that are thrown from the pancreas in order to digest protein, it is not used to working at such an acidic place. It's used to working in hydrochloric acid acidity levels. And so this places a strain on the digestive system and on the pancreas in order to just digest the white of an egg. Then, of course, eggs are high in saturated fat, the yolk of the egg. And it's animal saturated fat, which is not the same as plant saturated fat. Plants and animals, the nutrients that come from them, it just does not work the same. And so this further impedes digestion. And then if you're thinking, okay, I heard this lady and I fact checked what she said and I checked the science and she's correct. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to eat a large salad every time I eat my egg in order that the large salad is going to help me. Now, the large salad is definitely going to help you, especially with the choline connection, the cancer connection, and those kinds of things. But just know those plants and the animal have different digestive enzymes. They take different times to digest. Do you understand? So the amount of a digestive enzyme that an egg, say, will take is not the same as, beans. It doesn't work the same. The time for it to digest is not the same. So when you eat it all together, you cause indigestion. Indigestion breeds fermentation. Fermentation breeds toxicity. And so you have more toxicity even. So we started with the sister in 1904 that had her suggestions. And we're going to read another suggestions from her. It says, the time will come when we will have to discard some of the articles of diet we now use, such as milk, cream, and eggs, 1909. But it is not necessary to bring upon ourselves perplexity by premature and extreme restrictions in 1909. Wait until the circumstances demand it and the Lord prepares a way for it. Now in 2024, friends, surely the circumstances demand it, and surely the Lord has prepared a way for it. In fact, lacto-ovo vegetarians are seen to suffer many of the diseases as just the straight out folks that are eating meat. So I placed here the picture of Just Egg, which is made from plants. And Just Egg is a transitional substitute. No, it's not. I don't use Just Egg. Just Egg is not the best thing. But if you're looking to come into the plant-based world and you're looking for a substitute, Just Egg is made from mung beans. And as far as I could tell from the feedback that I've gotten from people that have had it, they think that it hits the spot. For those of you that you love eggs, from your head down to your legs. And then, of course, tofu omelets, and that's what's up there. And I love tofu omelets. They're chickpea omelets. And there are many other things that you can do to have, the kind of egg flavor. Namak, or black salt, gives the sulfur in the egg flavor that can bring like an egginess to things if you're accustomed to that flavor, even when you're making pastries, even cake. So definitely, I think that the Lord has prepared a way. And I think definitely that the circumstances demand it because it's not the same egg. And so it's about time that we throw away the egg, even the free-range ones, and take up better substitutes. All right, may God bless you.